Okay, so good morning, everybody. Thanks for all of the people that are attending this session with us today. We are excited to share a lot of information with you all about CounterSketch and the benefits of CounterSketch and what CounterSketch and the CAD/CAM services team can do for you. A lot of the information that Heather, Whitney, and I are going to share is really a lot of information from hundreds of conversations with customers about CounterSketch and customization. So that's really where our focus is going to be, and showing you the power obviously of the software. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and do some introductions here, Heather. And we're gonna go ahead and get started with Heather. Why don't we go there first?
Perfect. So good morning, everyone. My name is Heather Kutzman, and I'm the Gemvision Director of Training and Technical Support. So my main role is enabling our training and tech support teams as we assist customers with learning both Matrix Gold and CounterSketch and ensuring that the software runs well. To give you a little bit of background about me, I started working in the jewelry industry in my parents' retail store. And at the time, our primary method of creating custom was fabrication. We adopted CounterSketch early on, and that enabled me and other sales staff to really assist with custom designs, and that grew into Matrix as well. So I've spent about 7 years in the retail side of the business, and now I've been with Stellar for about 8 years. And I really kind of enjoy working with our customers and finding solutions that fit their business needs. So that's a little bit about me.
Whitney?
Hi, everyone. My name is Whitney Rogers. I'm the Custom Solutions Success Manager here with Gemvision, and my role is all focused on ensuring that you're successful with our software and that you successfully implement the software within your business. A little background about me: I've been in the jewelry industry for about 5 years, much of that being with Stellar's CAD/CAM services. So good experience with the custom world as well as the CounterSketch software.
And Dave?
Well, good morning, everybody. I guess I'm the end user here and get to talk about CounterSketch from a little different perspective. I've had the honor to work with CounterSketch. I think we really dove into it heavy right around 2013, and we've utilized pretty much all the versions as they've come out. We've built our business around it and have had a lot of success. And I look forward to telling you how we've used CounterSketch to really streamline our business, allow us to reduce cost, and serve our clients on a significantly higher level.
Excellent. And I'll just go ahead and introduce myself, and then we'll get started here. So again, my name's Sean Montgomery. I'm the Executive Director of Global Software of Gemvision and the Stellar CAD/CAM services area. I've been at Stellar for 26 years, started in manufacturing, did a lot of years in field sales, call center, ran CAD/CAM, and now including Gemvision. And I tell you what, I've had the most fun in that 26 years in the last 6 years because of being intimately involved on the custom side. Walking around the department, seeing custom one-of-a-kind pieces from customers like Dave, man, that really gets me going and excited to share with you all a little bit more about CounterSketch. Okay, so before we get started, we're going to transition to the PowerPoint for a little while. And before we dive into those details, just to remind everybody that's attending today, if you do attend the whole session, you'll get an automated email with a coupon to receive a 5% discount off of any of the Gemvision products. So just a little lagniappe that we say in Louisiana, a little extra for hanging in there with us. And we definitely are going to be interested to hear from you during the Q&A, so don't be shy about that. We definitely want to help people. That's what we're here trying to do, and share what the power of CounterSketch can do. All right, so just just a little bit of history on CounterSketch. And Dave, we're gonna have a little fun with this one, before we jump into the meat of the presentation. We're gonna give you a little history right now. We're gonna go through some statistics of customization. We're going to talk about the paradigm shifts within the jewelry industry, especially relevant to customization. We're also going to actually show you the software and the power of it. Really, Heather's gonna do that. And then towards the end of the actual session, Dave and I will kind of do a Q&A about his business. But how did CounterSketch start? I want to share a little bit of history on that. So Gemvision is a sister company that was started actually in 1990. We acquired this company towards the end of 2008. And I happened to be lucky enough to be in one of the strategy sessions with Matt Steller and people like Jeff High and others. If Doug Kearns is on this session like he was on the prior days, he was actually in that meeting too. And what Matt and Jeff were talking about was, man, if we could take the 3D power of Matrix, and then if you all know what I'm talking about, the simplicity of Digital Goldsmith's 2D software, and make one 3D software experience with the designs from a Stellar standpoint. And Matt, took one of the Mountings catalogs at the end of the conference room, and he said, Jeff, you know, when you're in front of a customer selling a remount piece, would it be nice if you take this catalog that has all 14 karat yellow diamonds photographed at the time, and you just hit the catalog and say, hey, why don't we just turn all these to 14 karat white and change it to ruby or sapphire and show the customer visually, basically digitizing the Stellar designs. And literally that's the kind of conversation that happened. Actually, I looked up the date this morning. That was August 12th of 2008. And then we launched CounterSketch officially in October of 2008. And what CounterSketch is a parametric CAD 3D software loaded with thousands of Stellar designs that you can manipulate to create one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry. So Dave, you actually were have a little history with Gemvision too. You go back to what, Digital Goldsmith, what I was just talking about?
Yeah, I actually, Jeff did some training with me back in 1997 on Digital Goldsmith, and through the transitions of working with different companies and starting my own company, I kind of lost track of Digital Goldsmith. And then just through how fate works, I picked it back up again, probably, I'm trying to think, 2006, 2007, okay, yeah. Maybe 8, it might have been 8 or 9, I can't remember, you told the date. Yeah. But I was amazed, and I joked, I think I joked with you the other day, I think it was version 38 of Digital Goldsmith. Yeah. So, but I loved it, enjoyed it, and I couldn't believe how much simpler and user-friendly CounterSketch had become.
Excellent, yes, thank you. And so just a little contextual insight on the data side, especially reference to customization. This is actually from the KNOT, the worldwide KNOT data. And, from a customization standpoint, if you look at the entire bridal business within the US, 38% of all engagement rings are customized in one way, shape, or form. Within that 38%, we can break it out to 24% of those transactions are personalized from the original design. So think of the customer coming up to the showcase and saying, I like that, Dave, but can you change the center size, or can you add stones down the side? Can you change the size of those stones? And then 14% of the overall bridal business is actually custom, complete custom, starting from scratch. So something like this, where somebody, a jeweler might do a hand sketch, and then we transition it into a custom one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry in the 3D space. And then next, just before we jump into CounterSketch a little bit more, one more stat in reference to weddings. So based on the most recent information and the latest uptick in the forecast of weddings for 2021, we're going to hit 2.47 million weddings in 2021. So if you can look at all the way back to 2016 and then a forecast to 2024, this year is, as Harold said in the first presentation on Monday, the year of the wedding. And guess what, Dave? The largest number of weddings in a city happen in what city?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, exactly. So I thought that was very relevant to share, which all of this that I'm talking about is creating the perfect storm for CounterSketch or whatever software or customization enhancements that you're doing within your store. So a little bit more about CounterSketch. I kind of talked about the specifics of it, and you're going to see it firsthand from Heather in a little bit, but it is an all-in-one tool from a custom jewelry standpoint. Obviously, there is another software, Matrix Gold, that's even more powerful than CounterSketch. But I'm very surprised at the customers like Dave and like some others that are pushing the limits with CounterSketch. They're almost doing what someone does in Matrix or Matrix Gold. And believe me, you can do more in Matrix Gold than CounterSketch, but what CounterSketch has within the software is something called freehand elements, to where you can take parts and pieces and build a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. All right, and just a little bit more about how CounterSketch is helping you as the jeweler keep up with the paradigm shifts within our industry, customization and consumers. Visualization, as you all know, are extremely important. Meeting the expectations of the customers have changed. You know, as I've talked to Dave before, you know, he started in the business in 1977, hand sketching, you know, on the counter, right? So that's visualization. And guess what? If somebody's listening today and they can actually do genuine hand sketches, more power to you, because that is a lost art, almost like watchmakers, right? But not everybody has that talent. And so in today's world, sometimes you need a software like CounterSketch that gives you that simple, intuitive experience to build the customization and then render the piece of jewelry to give them a 3D experience. And then also CounterSketch helps you to create, you know, what the customer wants, a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. You know, somebody that comes into your store with pictures, or they see something you showcase and they say, I like the head from this piece and the shank from this piece. But CounterSketch helps you to create that one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. And Dave and I'll kind of talk about his store a little bit later. And if you can think about reducing the stress as an independent jeweler on owning less live inventory, increasing your number of prototypes, and introducing CAD software into your customer experience, it takes that pressure off of you from an inventory standpoint to allow you to listen to the customer, to meet them at their needs. And then the other thing is real-time pricing, make the sale. You know, the CounterSketch software is a CAD software with a parametric engine that understands the volume of metal that the piece is going to have, how many stones it's going to have, what the stone set type is, and it will give you an approximate price. I've talked to customers for, you know, the last, 20 years of interacting with customers out of the 26 that I've worked for Stellar. And I've seen a lot of customers that are very savvy. They'll take, the price from the Mountings book, they'll add a little bit, their markup, and I know the diamond pricing, they'll kind of, figure out that pricing on their own. But CounterSketch is kind of a cheat sheet. It kind of helps you get to that price real quick. And then make it tangible. I tell you what, out of the 6 or almost 7 years now that I've been in the CAD/CAM business talking to customers like Dave, the last 3 years, I've seen this uptick in our customers using tangible 3D printed samples of the custom one-of-a-kind piece before they actually start the production. So you can use prototypes from Stellar, like the Ever Never collection, or you can design a piece of jewelry within CounterSketch, and you can request a resin sample, which Heather will talk a little bit about more in a little bit. But if you can think about this, just to slow it down for a moment, if you've got a render, you've got an approximate price, and you can give them a tangible aspect of a resin 3D printed, that really enhances the custom experience. And that's not my words. These are, what I'm hearing from customers. All right, so Heather, we'll take it from here.
All right, so as Sean was mentioning, CounterSketch is an incredibly powerful tool that enables you to provide that experience in your store for your customer. And there's two different ways that you can purchase CounterSketch. So we have a CounterSketch perpetual license, which is a one-time purchase. You purchase the software and you own it forever. With that perpetual license, the software is run locally on your hardware. So you want to make sure that you get a computer that has a correct graphics card, and it's essentially kind of a high-powered gaming computer so that it's going to run the software well and smoothly when you're working with that customer. The other thing that you'll know about our perpetual license is once you've made that purchase, the only fees that you'll incur after that initial purchase of the software is after your first year, there's a $295 annual fee. And for that fee, you're going to receive all of the library updates. So we have a product design and development team that's committed to creating new styles and adding those styles to the library so that the content that you're presenting to your customer is relevant and fashion forward. You'll also have access to our technical support team that can help if you ever run into any technical issues in working with the software. Also included in your purchase of a perpetual license is an in-person training credit. So again, we want to empower you and make sure that you're well equipped to use the software. We train in a train the trainer fashion. So what that means is whoever you send to Lafayette to learn the software or attend a virtual training online if you'd rather not meet in person, that person is equipped to train the rest of your staff on how to use CounterSketch. Again, we want to equip you with the right tools so that you can be successful. The price for that perpetual license is $5,499. Another way that you can purchase CounterSketch is through CounterSketch streaming. With CounterSketch streaming, there is a monthly subscription. So after a 6-month initial commitment and fee, you're able to access CounterSketch remotely through a monthly subscription. What's great about this is you don't need to purchase that high-power gaming computer. So all you need is a computer that runs on a Mac or Windows operating system, and you can access CounterSketch streaming in the cloud. Included with your monthly access fee are the software updates, library updates, technical support, and online training. So again, with this streaming package, we include all of the tools that you need in order to move forward with CounterSketch in your business. An added bonus of CounterSketch streaming is that you can conduct remote sessions with your customers with the click of a button. So built into the CounterSketch streaming interface is the ability to send a link to your customer so that they can then connect and see that shared screen. So you can work together as you design, even if you're not in the same location. The price for CounterSketch streaming is a $7.99 initial fee and then $79 per month. One of the reasons that CounterSketch is so powerful in our selling experiences is that it allows the customer to feel like they're truly collaborating with you. So for a while there, we heard that customers, especially millennials, were saying that jewelry stores were really stuffy and it felt more like a confrontation than a collaboration. And CounterSketch gives your sales associates the tools that they need to truly work with your customers shoulder to shoulder as they design a piece that is specific to what they're looking to purchase. The other thing that you can do with CounterSketch is create truly unique designs. So if your customer comes in and works with your associates to create a one-of-a-kind piece, it's not something that they can go search and price elsewhere. It's not a commodity. It's a unique design that they helped to create. CounterSketch also allows you to leverage the design flexibility. We have over 1,300 rings in the library, not to mention pendants and other pieces. So there's quite a few pieces in the existing library that you can modify. And then on top of that, we have tons of freehand parts that you can add to those existing designs to take them even further in the design journey. So again, lots of flexibility for your customer to choose. As Sean mentioned, we also sell a prototype collection that works with CounterSketch. We have an Ever and Ever bridal prototype collection that has tons of models in it, and all of these models are in the CounterSketch library. A lot of customers walk into a jewelry store expecting to have that tactile experience, right? Where they pick up a piece of jewelry and try a ring on, hold it in their hand. With these prototypes, they're able to do that. And then as Sean mentioned, all you have to do is type in that SKU number into CounterSketch, and you can begin modifying and updating that design to reflect your customer's choices. Finally, CounterSketch allows you to work with your customer to not only choose a style that they're looking for, but also meet their budget. By making adjustments to the number of stones, the size of the stone, the weighted shank or a traditional shank, you can modify the price of the piece by moving things around in your design to make sure that you're meeting your customer's budget, and you're able to kind of show that you're listening, collaborating, again, to both reach the same goal.
Heather, just one moment. Dave, that makes me think about adjusting the customer's style to hit a price point. Do you see that often? Like out of 10 designs, how many times do you use the software to remove some stones to hit a price point, or does that not come up often? You're muted, yeah.
There we go. It comes up once in a while, but typically in the process of conversation, a lot of times where the client wants to be on price point is kind of already, you've bounced around it to some degree. So you get comfortable enough with CounterSketch that you can pretty much know where you're headed. And as you use the estimate tool, you pretty much can almost know where it's going to be before you even click the button to get the pricing. So similar to, like you said, when you're looking at a catalog, we all got good at figuring out in our heads where we were going to end up or where we needed to be. It's very intuitive, but we find it to be very useful, and clients love the opportunity to adjust if we need to.
That's great. So we're using it as a target, right? So
Absolutely.
As you're designing, you're hitting the target. Okay, go ahead, Heather. Sorry.
No.
No, that was perfect. So now we're going to walk through a brief demonstration of CounterSketch for you guys to take a look at it. I'm sure you've had this situation happen in your store before. Maybe your customer comes in with their smartphone and they have their Pinterest page pulled up, and this is the design that they're looking for. After looking in your showcase, maybe you don't have something that looks exactly like this image that I have on the screen. And that's a great opportunity to design the piece in CounterSketch. So let's hop over into CounterSketch. I'm just going to expand this a little so it's full screen. And we'll walk through what that sales interaction might look like. So we start out on the CounterSketch start screen. You can see here that the jewelry is divided into lots of different categories, so we can choose the category that's most relevant for what our customer is looking for. You'll also notice that we have the different diamond and gemstone options available. So if the customer would like to select the stone first, you can access Stellar's entire diamond and gemstone inventory right here from CounterSketch. For us, we're looking for a specific model, and so I'm going to start by going into all of our ring designs. As I mentioned, we have over 1,300 ring designs in the collection. You'll notice on the left side over here that we can adjust our material options. So if your customer is looking to use an emerald for the center stone instead of a diamond, you can update all of the images to reflect that choice. In our case, our customer was looking for a rose gold ring. So we're just going to select that material and apply it to all of our settings. If it's a two-tone piece, we can leave it set this way, but in our case, we'll make both of these rose gold so that it's a single piece casting. Across the top, you'll notice that we can start to filter these designs. Looking at 1,300 rings may be a lot for one person, and so it's really easy to go in and use the filters to select the right shape and size. So we want to use a round stone for our center stone shape. And for our center stone setting style, we're going to select the bezel option. You'll notice as I apply these filters, the number of possible results begins to shrink. So we're narrowing down our choices to identify the most relevant styles. Now that we've got a smaller number of designs to consider, we can start to scroll through until we find a design that's similar to what our customer's photo looks like. So I'm just going to scroll through here. And this design here is very close, right? We have that bezel set center with our halo around the outside. The only problem is the width of our band is really wide compared to the image, and these accent stones are not in our final piece. That's okay. We're going to work with it and see if we can make some changes to modify this design. So once we open the design into our customization screen, you can see here that we have our ring on our screen. We're able to rotate it so that our customer can see it from all angles. And we can also zoom in and out to get a closer look at any aspects of the design that we'd like to see more closely. The first thing that I'm going to do is come to my design stack on the left-hand side and update my finger size. Now that that's updated, we need to remove these accent gems down the side because they aren't a part of what we're looking to create. So I'm going to use my design options to just left click on this box and remove those accent stones. Now we're a lot closer. We just need to narrow out this band. Looking at my simplified design stack over here on the left, I want to decrease the width of my profile at the top. So that's essentially shrinking the width of this band at the top. That got me most of the way there, but I actually want to expand my range so that I have a little bit more flexibility, and we'll bring this down a little bit more. So now we've got that narrower band at the top of our design, but at the bottom it's still a little wide. So again, we can take a look at our options. Here's our shank bottom profile width, and we can narrow that out as well. In addition to the width of the band, it's a little tall on the side. If I look at my simplified stack to see where I can make adjustments, I don't see that band height. So I'm going to go to my advanced options and see what other choices I have available for this particular design. The first option is related to the shank, and then you'll notice that we have different categories for all the different parts of the design. So I want to make some changes to the shank, which is the first option that I'll choose. Here you can see I have the ability to change my top thickness. And again, we're just going to drag this slider to the left, and it brings that height down for us. So now we have our design pulled together. At this point, we want to continue that conversation with our customer. Is there anything else that they'd like to change about the style? If there is, we just find the right category and start making those adjustments.
Hey,
It would
Heather,
be,
just one question here from one
sure.
of the customers is asking if they can import a custom cut stone like a CAD file. Let's say they have an old mine cut center.
So Matrix Gold, if you were to build or if you had a 3D M file, you can bring those pieces into CounterSketch. However, you don't have the same creation ability that you might have in something like Matrix Gold. So you can bring 3D M files into CounterSketch and work with them in the customization screen. However, as far as creating a custom head, that may be difficult because we have predefined parts and kind of options within those pieces that we can select from. And there may not be a head setting that would necessarily accommodate a custom gem.
Yeah, and then I would just add a couple things here. Outside of a stone, you could import, let's say you have a certain element of a gallery that you always put on your engagement rings. You can import that from Matrix or Matrix Gold and use it in the CounterSketch file. But you also, when you submit that custom stone, if you do submit it to the Stellar CAD/CAM team to set, we would actually 3D scan that stone, and we would take the CounterSketch file and fit that stone perfectly like a glove. So we definitely do that every day here within the CAD/CAM team. And then we have there was one hand raised. I saw there. That was maybe one of the questions, but.
All right.
Okay.
So we've got our engagement ring designed. It'd be nice if we could add some matching bands to go with it. So this is where we'll go into our freehand part library and pull out some matching wedding bands to go with our design. I want to left click on this little blue box at the bottom, and this brings me to my freehand part menu. Similar to that start screen, all the different elements are categorized so that we can find what we're looking for quickly. Once we select a category, again, we have our filters at the top if those are helpful in finding exactly the piece we're looking for. In our case, we're looking to add a matching wedding band that will contour around our center stone. So this is the one that I would like to add to my screen. I feel like that setting style kind of mimics the setting style of our halo, and so I think that those will work well together. So I just double left click on that particular band and it adds it to my screen. You'll see with the freehand parts that they are not parametric because we're adding the parts. They don't have that same history that we had with our original model. So when it comes out, it's just placed right in the very center of my design. And so what I want to do is update my finger size first so that everything works together nicely. Now that we have that finger size updated, all we have to do is place our band and then make our adjustments so that we can nicely see those accent diamonds. So right now we're getting a little bit of an overlap. I can change the way that I'm looking at this piece to a top-down view so that it's easier for me to make those adjustments. So I want to come in here to my design span and just adjust this out a little bit so that those diamonds are contouring around the center. If I want, I can also change my design width so that it isn't hugging those sides as tightly. And that looks pretty good. So we've got our matching band on one side. If our customer is into symmetry, we can also mirror it across the top onto the other side of our ring. Now let's take a look to see how this design would actually look on a finger. We can choose the customer's skin tone and nail polish color, and then see how this design looks on the finger. If the customer is happy with the design, at this point we can do a quick estimate. So the quick estimate takes a look to see what the metal market prices are today. It takes into account markups that you have put into the system so that the pricing that the customer sees is in retail cost. It's going to calculate whatever is on the screen. So it's going to include the setting and all of the accent gems. The only thing that it doesn't include is that center gem. So because we know that the price of a center gem can fluctuate quite a bit based on the quality, we're not going to estimate that center gem price, but it will include the two bands, the accent diamonds, and the diamonds in the halo and our engagement ring. So you can see here, the quick estimate gives us quite a few options to choose from. We've got several different metal options that the customer can consider, as well as different diamond melee qualities across the top. It does say that that large center diamond is not included. However, these accent gems are included in the price. Now that the customer has seen the design, helped you refine it to their specifications, and seen an estimate of what the final price would be, it's time to submit the order. So I'm going to hand it over to Whitney and let her share with you that process.
Thanks, Heather. All right, everyone, I'm going to talk a little bit about designing and quoting with confidence within the CounterSketch software. Firstly, when quoting with CounterSketch, we want to ensure that you're being compensated for your expertise and your customers receiving the value associated with your brand. We've done this by linking CounterSketch with Stellar Showcase. If you're not familiar with Stellar Showcase, it's a quoting tool that actually allows you to utilize stellar.com as your own digital catalog by inputting your store's markups. So when you log into the CounterSketch software, your Stellar Showcase markups will automatically be applied to the models so that your customer is always seeing the particular price for your store in your markups. You can provide a quote to your customer a couple of different ways within the software. The first being our exact pricing tool, which allows you to provide the finished cost of the piece at the time of the design, meaning that the price will not fluctuate depending on the market or the ship date. We will effectively freeze that price so that you can close the sale with your customer on the same day. Once your customer has accepted that quote, you can select Place Final Order, which will immediately put your piece into our production process. So no waiting for a quote or additional renders, that piece will start production. A couple qualifiers for exact pricing are we don't allow any freehand parts and no customer supplied stones, meaning that you would be sending your customer stones into Stellar to set. The second option is our quick estimate tool, which Heather showed briefly. This tool, again, allows you to provide an estimated quote to your customer to ensure that you're meeting their budget needs. So as you design the piece, you can click the quick estimate option to make sure you're staying within that customer's parameters for their budget. Again, keeping in mind that the estimate will not include stones larger than 4 millimeters, just due to the fluctuating market prices. Then finally, to get the most accurate quote, or if you have a special request, you can submit your file to our CAD/CAM services team. The team will validate your file, make any modifications that you've requested, and provide a quote with renders within 24 business hours. So a quick turnaround time if you're needing the most accurate quote or any modifications done to the piece. Moving into submitting your order, we have updated the order screen so that you can clearly see what information still needs to be completed so that you can submit your orders quickly without reviewing options that may not apply to you or that you may not need. With Stellar's CAD/CAM services, we have a wide variety of ordering options. You can select from a finished piece set with your customer stones, or maybe if you're in a rush, the customer's going on vacation in a couple weeks, but they still want that custom piece of jewelry, you can opt for a semi-finished casting for your jeweler to set in-house. So a wide variety of options on how you would like your custom piece completed. We also want that custom design to represent your brand. So you can send your logo to CAD/CAM services and we'll include your logo on all of your custom jobs. We want that piece to represent you for your customer. If you have a customer who is maybe hesitant to buy before they try the piece, at a charge, you can receive a realistic representation of the finished piece with our sample services. We're actually transitioning from plated resins to plated silver to give the customer an even better feel for what the finished product will be like. Feedback states that sales associates are more comfortable utilizing the software within your store, knowing that they have the option to give their customer a chance to try on the piece before they complete the purchase. The sample service has proven to enhance the sales process and increase your close rate. So a little statistics behind that is Stellar has seen a 70% increase in custom sales for customers who utilize this service.
Okay, just a little bit of detail on that because some people may be curious. So the plated resin, we're moving to the silver sample that Whitney just talked about. So what we're going to do for you is we'll 3D print that design with the melee in the design. We're going to leave the center stone blank so that when we cast it in silver and we have a process that will basically give you a bright finish without us having to hand polish it. But it's going to give you a very professional representation of the piece so that you can take the customer's center stone and place it in the silver model sample to help you close that sale. So I just wanted to slow it down for that moment. Okay.
Thanks, Sean. Lastly, we want you to be able to track your orders. So you can actually accept your quotes, request any changes, track your job's progress with our CAM tracker. You can access the CAM tracker at stellar.com/CAD/CAM services. Some of you may be a little bit too busy to sit at the computer, check on your jobs. Maybe you're on your sales floor all day, you didn't have a chance, or maybe you're on the bench all day. You can actually opt into our SMS services and we'll send you your project status updates directly to your phone. So no having to sit at the computer, log in to check on all your jobs, just opt in for those text messaging updates and we'll send them to you. Thanks everyone for your time. I will now pass it back to Sean and Dave.
Excellent. Great job, Heather and Whitney. So Dave, I think the customers probably are very interested to hear from you, and no matter the people attending have CounterSketch or not, I kind of wanted to bring obviously a customer into this fold so that they can hear from you directly, how this software has enhanced your business. So let's start there. At the highest level from a strategy standpoint, you have a partnership with another partner. You're thinking about building this new business in Vegas. What made you decide to add CounterSketch to the business, and how has it helped your business?
Well, for us, I think the big buzzword in business these days is what's your why? Why did you choose a particular concept or what you were doing? And for us, it was limiting overhead, creating quality of life. We're a by appointment only jeweler. It's my 45th year in the diamond business, so I've been doing it a while. And but I love what I do. I don't want to retire. If I want to work 2-3 days a week, I'll work 2-3 days a week. And CounterSketch allows us to, when we schedule appointment times with clients, to bring them in and show them something different that they've not experienced in a traditional jewelry store. In an office setting versus a traditional jeweler setting, we have a showroom about 800 square feet. Mostly it's prototypes, but our clients primarily come into our offices and we just start with a casual conversation of what they're thinking, what they're looking to do. Many times this wonderful thing called the cell phone, they've got 3, 4, 5 images on there and they want elements of maybe 2 or 3 designs put into a ring design. And it just fits perfect. Our timing could not have been better with where I think the millennial customer is going. They love the control of custom. They love the ability to be able to give input as to what they're looking for. And more importantly, they love the immediacy of being able to see it. And it's not something that they really need to wait to see. So I'm trying to answer it as succinctly as I can, but all of those things fit together to cause us to move forward with CounterSketch.
Yeah, and before I go to my next question, I noticed on the slide the engagement ring that flew to space. Did you actually get a CounterSketch design?
We kind of sort of did. I had 2 clients that came in from Virgin Galactic. They were 2 of the top engineers. Obviously, they were in love. They met on the job and wanted to design something for them. And that really put CounterSketch to the test because we were dealing with two engineers that are designing rockets. Doesn't get more analytical than that. But the fun part of that is they were great to work with. And I had no idea that he was planning on doing this engagement. So when they did their initial test flight, he had one of the astronauts put it into a spacesuit and take it up into space. And then when they landed, Richard Branson and the couple proposed on the tarmac right next to the ship. So pretty cool moment for us as a company, and kind of fun for CounterSketch as well.
Absolutely. I loved it. And I remember seeing that picture. Richard Branson was literally right behind him when he proposed. Let's back up to something you just said a little while ago, prototypes, because, you know, shoot, people that are listening to this right now, they might have attended a bridge conference or maybe at the beginning an owners conference. And I can remember 15 years ago where the only prototypes we saw in jewelry stores was a wedding band. And now you've got engagements all over the place. And so kind of share with the audience here, how much live inventory versus prototypes do you have in your business?
Well, in our business, we have probably 10% live, and we're unique. I'm in Vegas. We just flew in. We're getting married tomorrow. I need something. Okay, so I have to have somewhere to go if CounterSketch isn't an option. But most of our inventory is CounterSketch. And going back to the original question, we didn't want the overhead. I didn't want a huge floor plan of inventory. The other nice thing is we all know the words basic. We know studs, we know solitaires. Guess what? That inventory doesn't get old, right? Well, I found out with prototypes, they don't get old either, because you can turn them into anything you want by using CounterSketch. You just got to clean them periodically and change the tags and keep them fresh, and they work great in the store. But truthfully, in many cases, we never even touch a prototype. We're sitting with the client. The inventory, the 1,300 designs, as indicated before, are significant. I tease clients and say, we can modify that one design 100 different ways. Let's just sit down and go for it. So literally, you have thousands of designs in that inventory. It's just how you manipulate each one. So they're there for us. I think we have every prototype Stellar owns. We didn't have to do that. That was by choice because it was such a successful way, but it doesn't get dated. That's the other cool thing about Stellar's inventory. And I can't think of almost very few designs that have ever been discontinued. I don't believe that any of them have been. So we continue to work well with the prototypes as well as the inventory in the database.
That's great. You know, and I know that you're in a unique city, right? In a unique situation, and a lot of people listening aren't going to be exactly like your business model, but percentage wise, how many designs do you pull off in CounterSketch versus other means from a percentage overall standpoint, do you think?
I think initially we were probably 70-30. 30 meaning live product, as I call it, versus CounterSketch product. Today, I think we're probably 5%, 95 CounterSketch.
Wow.
And it's because you just develop a comfort with it. It's such an easy go-to. And initially, you know, you think mentally, you know, this is so different. Are people really going to like this? And we find that if we can sit down just for a few minutes and show them CounterSketch, you don't have to talk them into it. They love it. I mean, it's incredibly well received. And obviously, as you build reputations within your markets, okay, and people know what you do, and friends are sending clients to you and that kind of thing, they're kind of pre-sold before they ever get to you. You just need to follow through on that recommendation.
You know, and I want to help, you know, some people here as well, because I see some people buy CounterSketch that are very successful. I see people that buy CounterSketch that are moderately successful. I see people that buy CounterSketch that don't use it. You know, so we have Heather and you know, and Whitney here, you know, from a training standpoint, when you bought the software, how did you personally get to a proficient level? And maybe proficient is maybe too strong of a word, but enough to be effective in front of a customer. What was that process like?
Well, the training, I happened to go through a live training. Okay, it was there was one that was scheduled here in Las Vegas. That was I think a 3-day, maybe 4-day max. Um, um, I'm telling on myself, I'm 60 years of age, so I'm not a young millennial computer nut, right?
Yeah.
But I'm comfortable enough with computers that it wasn't a big leap. But for those of everybody just listening, CounterSketch is a very intuitive software program. Yes, you have to use it. Yes, you have to practice a little bit. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. But the thing that I finally learned is the more you use it, the more comfortable you get. And I know that seems simplistic, but it is the truth. And don't be scared to submit a non-perfect design. Get it as close as you can. Send it in to have them look at it. And the validation team at Stellar will take a look at it, and they got your back, as I like to say. They'll take a look at it, fix any issues that you didn't quite get. And a lot of times, as was indicated originally, you can get, technical support on the phone for a few difficult questions you might have, or how to get from A to B. They're happy to help and to assist. But the learning curve truly is shorter than people think, especially with CounterSketch. It's just not that complicated of a software package.
Yeah. And we've got a few minutes left, about 7 minutes here. And before I ask this next question, Dave, I'm going to ask the audience, if you have any questions for Dave, why don't you type that in there in the Q&A while I ask this next question. We'll come back to your Q&A questions. So Dave, COVID-19 hits.
Yeah.
The world changes a bit, right?
It did.
How did CounterSketch help you during that period of time?
Well, after I discovered I was a non-essential business, okay, and we closed for about 8 weeks, we were able to get started with curbside delivery and things of this nature. But the blunt part of it, it was our best year ever.
There you go.
Our business was incredibly positioned to be operating in that environment. One, we're an office jeweler, so it was private. It was by appointment. People liked the uniqueness of that. They also liked the safety that made them feel. CounterSketch allowed us to do virtual appointments in people's homes. They didn't have to come to the office. We could design it on the phone. We use Zoom primarily to share our screens with the clients. We have a fixed system. We don't have the virtual system that's offered because we were an early adopter. But it didn't stop us from doing virtual appointments. But we met with clients in the office during COVID. We were very safe about it. But people loved it. And I think the thing is many people that couldn't travel, they couldn't go to restaurants, couldn't go on vacation. What are they going to do with that expendable income? And I think it affected the jewelry industry across the board. I heard many people had great years during the COVID year.
Absolutely. Those virtual appointments, just curious, how many do you think you did in the last year? I mean, just roughly.
Well, I think at the height of things, we probably did about 50. Okay.
Yeah.
You think, okay, that's not that many. Well, for us, it was a major paradigm shift. They weren't in the office. I wasn't talking to them directly, but that's a pretty good number. But, interspersed in that, again, every business is different, and every jeweler comes with their own shop and how they're set up. But for us, being an office jeweler, it worked well.
Excellent. All right, Heather, do we have any questions that we need to address in the Q&A? With 5 minutes left here.
It looks like we've been mentioning most of them.
Okay.
We did have a question specifically about how the samples are coming out with the Melly in the mounting. And so, Sean, if you want to just address that maybe in a little bit more detail about how they come printed with the Melly.
Yeah, so we manufacture all product coming out of CounterSketch on behalf of the jeweler. So what we're doing with the samples is only giving you a prototype to help you make the sale, number one. And to an end consumer, they would love to see their center stone in the ring, right? So we do not print the center stone so that you can place the center stone into that sample. The actual ring itself is silver that's been plated, but we 3D printed the resin, the melee diamonds in a resin material within the design, so that the customer can see, the melee within the design instead of seeing a channel. And I don't know that we can really see it on a screen right here, but I've got one right here. It's kind of hard to see because of the background, but basically you can see the melee popping off the ring because of the metal and because of the rhodium plating. And so that's exactly what we're doing, and we're seeing a lot of success with that, and the consumer loves it. They're eating it up. And I remember one CounterSketch customer that I talked to when I first started it, and they literally told me, look, my father bought this software for me years ago. I literally never made a sale in CounterSketch until you offered this service, because she was intimidated to use the software in front of a customer because she, as a salesperson, didn't have that tangible aspect. And once she had that tangible aspect and she can give the render, the price, and a physical sample before it went into production, it gave her a level of comfort, which equals confidence. So I hope I answered that.
Awesome, thank you. We also have a question specifically for Dave. Kevin's asking, how important are the samples in your presentations when working with your clients?
Well, it's a great question. It depends on the dynamic of the appointment. If the client comes in and they have a cell phone, and maybe they've got those images on their cell phone, in many cases, it's not an issue, because we would probably never pull the prototype because we have an image to work with. In the circumstance like I had yesterday, I had a young lady came in, really nice couple. She had no idea what she wanted. She just didn't. She just didn't really know. Now, I could have gone through the catalog, but we have the benefit of the prototypes. So I took her out onto the sales floor, and we went through we have 3 full cases of prototypes, and we went through to kind of narrow down, did she want something more vintage? Did she want something more contemporary? Did she like a wider shank, thinner shank? What we all do. We've done it for years. And then once she landed on kind of a general design, I took her back to CounterSketch in the office, and we did just what we had done before. We went to all the options, narrowed down to the one that she liked, and then kind of moved from there. So the answer is pretty straightforward. It depends on the client, whether you need a prototype or not, but in many cases you don't.
We only have 1 minute here, and I want to try to respect everybody's time, but I tell you what, we've got a really good question that I just can't pass up. So Dave, we've got someone asking you, I may have missed it, but are you using Matrix Gold and CounterSketch, and how do you decide on which one to use?
Okay, well, I own Matrix Gold. Okay, we do use it. I'm not near as proficient with Matrix Gold as I am CounterSketch. I held out from buying Matrix Gold primarily because, by goodness, I can figure out a way to do it in CounterSketch, and that's the truth. There's a way to pretty much manipulate the parts catalog to get to where you need to go, and it really improved my skills doing that. But there are some things in Matrix Gold where you may need a part or a particular head or a style, and you can create that Matrix Gold to augment CounterSketch. But I have an associate on my staff, and he's pretty proficient at Matrix Gold, and he chuckles because 90% of the time I can get the design done in CounterSketch before he can in Matrix Gold. So it's kind of a competition between the two of us. He says, "How did you do that?" And I say, you just gotta know how to manipulate these controls a little better. So,
there you go.
we love both.
One important aspect of the answer that I just caught that you said, though, to help this customer is talent. So you found a talent that could catch on to Matrix Gold and let him learn so that you can continue that CounterSketch path, because you're running a business too.
Yeah,
So
and time is precious, guys. I mean, it
yes,
is precious. I mean, I chuckle. People ask, well, can you do this presentation, or can you help me with this charitable function, et cetera, et cetera. And I tease people. I said, well, I'm the staff. If I'm not in the office, we're out of business. Okay, so it's that kind of thing. So time is very precious to us, and that's another reason why CounterSketch is so fantastic for us. It's quick. It's not a time-consuming process to create a design.
that's great. Well, as much fun as we're having, we're out of time. We may have to schedule another one just to continue. I'm having so much fun with this. But Dave, again, I tell you what, I am so appreciative on behalf of the team here and the customers listening for you to join us. I really am. I appreciate your business too. And Whitney and Heather, I appreciate your time and being involved in this. And I wish everybody success out there. We will be at the Vegas show if you want to come meet us in person. And we're available at any point for conversations. Even if you just want to have a general conversation about an ideal about you want to kick it off with somebody, we're here to help. So y'all have a great day. Thank y'all all.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.